You did not stumble upon this video by accident. In a world consumed by noise, constant distraction, and hidden agendas, your spirit guided you directly to this exact space today. You have felt it your entire life. That quiet, persistent feeling that you see right through the games, the unsaid motives, and the unseen currents running beneath every interaction. While so many souls around you fall into emotional traps, guilt, and subtle forms of deception, you remain strangely unaffected. It is not because you have built bitter, cold walls around your heart, nor is it because you live in fear of being hurt. It is because something far deeper, far more ancient, and entirely divine stands as your unseen protector. There is a rare, unshakable trait woven directly into the soul architecture of a chosen one. It is a sacred frequency that makes it fundamentally impossible for anyone to bend your will, distort your reality, or manipulate your path. Falsehood simply cannot hold its weight when it comes face to face with the purity of your light. Today, we are lifting the veil to explore the true spiritual nature of this divine immunity. We will uncover why your energy inherently rejects deceit, how your higher self detects hidden motives before words are even spoken, and why those who attempt to control you ultimately find themselves completely powerless. Take a deep breath, settle your mind, and prepare your heart to remember the divine authority you have carried all along. Your journey was never meant to be governed by the illusions of this world, and what you are about to realize will change how you view your power forever. Chosen ones. To understand why you are entirely immune to manipulation, you must first examine how deception operates in the everyday world. Manipulation in human dynamics is rarely loud or obvious. It functions like an invisible, slow-acting poison that relies on confusion, self-doubt, and subtle emotional pressure. Most people fall victim to these tactics because they have been conditioned to rely on intellect, social norms, and superficial appearances to evaluate the motives of others. They listen strictly to the warmth of spoken words while completely ignoring the underlying energetic current that carries those words. Because their perception is restricted to the surface, they easily accept beautiful lies over uncomfortable realities. Your journey as a chosen one, however, has always been governed by an entirely different operating system. From your earliest memories, you possessed an innate, almost unexplainable discernment, a quiet inner compass that bypasses human logic altogether. This is not merely keen observation or high emotional intelligence, though those are natural side effects. It is the living memory of your spirit reacting to energy. Long before your mind forms a rational critique of a person, your ethereal body registers their true intent with absolute precision. You do not need proof to know when something is off. Your soul simply registers the discrepancy instantly. This phenomenon occurs because every thought, intention, and emotion carries a distinct vibrational frequency. Truth is light, unified, and carries a steady, harmonizing resonance that expands the atmosphere around it. Deceit, no matter how elegantly packaged or convincingly performed, is inherently fractured, heavy, and chaotic. When a manipulator approaches you with hidden motives wrapped in fake praise or manufactured urgency, their heavy frequency collides directly with your refined spiritual aura. You do not just hear their words, you literally feel the sudden, unnatural drop in the room's energy field. It is precisely this energetic sensitivity that manifests as those physical sensations you have felt your entire life. You might feel a sudden, sharp knot in your stomach, an unexplainable weight pressing against your chest, or an intuitive impulse urging you to take a step back. In the past, you may have brushed these feelings aside, convincing yourself that you were being overly critical, paranoid, or unreasonable. Yet, time and time again, reality eventually unmasked what your spirit knew from the very first second. You learned through experience that your body never lies, even when the world around you is putting on a masterclass in illusion. Because your consciousness operates at a higher frequency of truth, a lie feels like a harsh dissonant noise in an otherwise peaceful symphony. Manipulators depend heavily on their ability to create fog, ambiguity, and self-doubt in the minds of their targets so that they can step in and dictate reality. But when they attempt to cast that fog around a chosen one, your inner light illuminates every single thread of their net. You sit quietly, watching them play their game, seeing the entire board while they naively believe you are trapped in their pawn moves. You see the agenda long before it ever translates into action. Ultimately, this inner compass makes manipulation an impossible strategy against you because you cannot unsee what your soul has already witnessed. You do not argue with their narrative, nor do you waste energy trying to prove that you know they are lying. You simply step into the posture of a silent observer, anchored in a realm of clarity that deception cannot touch. They may attempt to refine their tactics, change their tone, or escalate their emotional performance, but to an awakened soul, a polished illusion is still just an illusion. Your awareness is your fortress, and truth is the air you breathe. The primary gateway through which manipulation enters human life is the unexamined ego and its insatiable hunger for validation. Manipulators are master opportunists who prey on a person's unhealed wounds, their fear of rejection, and their desperate desire to be seen, praised, or accepted. They offer calculated compliments, artificial warmth, and temporary pedestals to raise their target's self-esteem, only to threaten to withdraw that affection the moment the target hesitates to comply. This subtle, addictive cycle of reward and punishment keeps millions of souls bound in invisible, self-imposed chains for years, constantly changing who they are just to keep the approval flowing. However, the divine path of the chosen one requires a profound, often brutal dismantling of this exact ego mechanism. You were not permitted to navigate this life with a fragile self-image built on the shifting opinions of the crowd. God and the universe led you through deep valleys of isolation, intentional wilderness seasons, and painful betrayals where the applause of the world was completely silenced. You experienced the dark night of the soul, a sacred crucible where every superficial title, worldly expectation, and artificial source of comfort was stripped away until only the pure essence of your spirit remained. Through those grueling seasons of solitude, you were forced to confront your deepest fears of being misunderstood, excluded, or forgotten. You discovered that relying on external validation is like drinking salt water to quench a spiritual thirst. It only leaves you weaker, hungrier, and more vulnerable to exploitation. In the quiet depths of that isolation, a profound realization took root within your core. Human approval is a fleeting shadow, but divine truth is an eternal anchor. You stopped looking outward for a seal of worth that had already been stamped onto your soul by the Creator before time began. Because you no longer crave the validation of men, the manipulator's most lethal weapon crumbles into dust the moment it touches your presence. When they attempt to flatter you with grand words to soften your boundaries, it falls completely flat because your identity is not starved for attention. When they try to use public shame, cold distance, or guilt to bend your will, it fails to find an anchor in your heart because your worth is not subject to public vote. You cannot be bribed with fake intimacy, nor can you be coerced with the threat of exclusion because you have already learned how to thrive in the wilderness. The moment a manipulative person realizes that you are truly comfortable walking alone, their perceived power over you completely vanishes into thin air. Control requires a hostage, and an awakened soul who fears no earthly loss cannot be held hostage by emotional games. They realize with a sense of quiet panic that they have no leverage over someone who has made peace with isolation over dishonor. Your freedom from the need to be liked makes you an unpredictable, unshakeable force in a world where almost everyone is secretly begging for permission to exist. This dissolution of the ego does not make you cold, arrogant, or unapproachable. Rather, it grounds you in an authentic, bulletproof humility. You do not need to win arguments to feel powerful, nor do you need to expose their games publicly to feel victorious. You simply hold your space with a calm, unyielding posture, knowing exactly who you are without requiring their acknowledgement. You stand rooted like an ancient tree in a storm. While the winds of their emotional manipulation rage, shout, and attempt to shake your branches, your roots remain untouched in the deep earth of divine truth. Beyond intuition and ego dissolution, another profound reason chosen ones are entirely unshakable is their rare willingness to embrace uncomfortable truths over comfortable lies. The vast majority of people allow themselves to be manipulated, not because they are unintelligent, but because accepting the truth would demand a terrifying level of disruption to their lives. They willingly ignore obvious red flags, rationalize toxic behavior, and swallow subtle indignities because they fear the emotional pain of ending a relationship, leaving a career, or walking away from a familiar community. They choose the slow decay of deception over the sharp temporary pain of freedom. You, however, carry the undeniable spirit of a divine warrior, a soul that values truth far above personal comfort or temporary stability. When the universe pulls back the curtain and reveals that a person, a dynamic, or an environment is built on deceit, you do not try to negotiate with reality. You do not make poetic excuses for toxic behavior, nor do you pretend to be blind to what has been dragged into the light. You possess the rare, fierce courage to look directly at a painful reality, accept it in its entirety, and bear the emotional weight of that clarity without flinching. This fundamental difference in mindset completely neutralizes a manipulator's favorite tactic: emotional blackmail and hostage-taking. Manipulators always assume that you will choose peace at any price, that you will compromise your integrity just to avoid an uncomfortable confrontation or a painful breakup. But when they try to corner a chosen one with ultimatums or guilt trips, they are met with a terrifyingly calm silence. They expect a frantic defense, a desperate plea for compromise, or a tearful breakdown. Instead, they encounter an absolute, unyielding willingness to let the entire dynamic burn to the ground if it is built on a lie. You possess the spiritual maturity to grieve a loss immediately and cleanly, rather than prolonging an illusion and living a diluted, compromise-filled life. You understand that losing a disingenuous connection is not a true loss at all, but a divine clearing of space for higher alignments. When you demonstrate that you are fully prepared to walk away from anything that requires you to abandon your self-respect, you strip the deceitful person of every single piece of leverage they thought they held. You become fundamentally unnegotiable when it comes to your spiritual integrity. Furthermore, this readiness to embrace discomfort allows you to observe manipulators with an unsettling level of emotional detachment. As they deploy their emotional theatrics, playing the victim, twisting facts, or attempting to provoke an angry reaction, you do not jump into the mud with them. You sit quietly, watching their performance as if viewing a play from the audience. Your stillness completely paralyzes their strategy, because a manipulator thrives on reaction and emotional chaos. When they realize their dramatic outbursts cannot shake your inner peace, their performance collapses under the weight of its own absurdity. In a world driven by a desperate search for short-term comfort, your willingness to endure the fire of truth is your ultimate superpower. You treat truth not as a preference, but as a sacred law of your existence. You would rather stand alone in the harsh, cold light of reality than sit comfortably in a room warmed by deceitful fires. This uncompromising commitment to truth creates an energetic boundary around you that toxic people simply cannot cross. They quickly realize that you are far too expensive for their cheap games, and they are forced to leave you exactly as they found you, sovereign, unbroken, and free. Chosen ones. Beyond your psychological clarity and emotional detachment lies a spiritual reality that operates actively around you at all times. You are not navigating this earth or fighting these subtle energetic battles purely on your limited human strength. Chosen ones are sealed with a distinct heavenly mark of divine protection, an invisible force field woven from divine light that acts as a spiritual filter for every dynamic you enter. This protection is not merely a metaphor, it is an active, living law of the universe that repels low vibrational intentions and breaks deceptive traps before they can ever fully form around your life. Whenever someone approaches you with hidden malice disguised as friendship or strategic deceit wrapped in affection, an invisible mechanism begins to unfold in the spiritual realm. Notice how, throughout your life, whenever a person attempted to secretly plot against you, undermine your progress, or manipulate your path, their plans inexplicably shattered into pieces. The universe itself intervenes on your behalf in ways that defy human logic. Doors close abruptly to keep you out of harm's way, subtle instincts force you to change your plans at the last minute, and the true motives of deceptive people are exposed through sudden, chaotic slips of the tongue or unexpected circumstances. This divine armor does not guarantee that you will never encounter manipulative individuals in your journey. Rather, it ensures that their influence can never penetrate your core spirit or permanently derail your destiny. Every trap laid for you by calculating minds ultimately ends up becoming a divine stepping stone for your spiritual elevation and maturity. While they spend immense mental energy trying to weave webs of control, they remain blissfully unaware that they are playing a game against the creator of the universe. The very weapons they forge to bring you down end up dissolving in the heat of your divine light. Furthermore, there is a severe spiritual law attached to those who willfully attempt to deceive or harm an anointed soul. Divine protection carries a natural, cosmic mirror effect, commonly recognized as karma or divine justice. When a person targets a chosen one with calculated deception, they are not merely messing with a human being, they are striking their head directly against the divine authority that stands behind that soul. You often do not even have to raise a finger or speak a harsh word in your defense. You simply watch as the negative energy they sent toward you rebounds directly back into their own life, dismantling their own peace, stability, and plans. This spiritual reality explains why toxic and manipulative individuals often feel an unexplainable, subconscious dread when they spend extended time around you. Your aura operates like a high-frequency spiritual scanner that silently exposes the hidden contents of their hearts. Even if they try to act confident and charismatic on the surface, their spirit recognizes the heavy divine guard standing around you. They intuitively sense that playing games with you carries an inexplicably high price tag, causing them to either break down in authentic confession or flee from your presence altogether because their darkness cannot handle the blinding weight of your light. As you walk through this world, rest in the deep, unshakable assurance that you are fiercely guarded from above. You do not need to live in paranoia, constantly scanning every room for potential enemies, or living with your guard up in defensive fear. Your protection is automatic, absolute, and eternally active. God and the universe have gone ahead of you to level the mountains, clear the paths, and neutralize the traps laid by the deceptive. Your only job is to remain centered in your truth, aligned with your divine purpose, and completely still in the knowledge that no weapon formed against your spirit will ever prosper. As you step fully into this profound realization, understand that your natural immunity to manipulation is not just a personal shield or a defensive gift for your own comfort. It is a vital part of your global spiritual mission. In a world deeply enslaved by fear, systemic control, subtle coercion, and emotional conditioning, your unshakable presence serves as a living beacon of genuine freedom and absolute truth. You were placed in this era precisely because humanity desperately needs souls who cannot be bought, quieted, frightened, or bent by the illusions of the dark. When you consistently refuse to participate in the toxic theater of manipulation, you disrupt the generational patterns of deceit in every environment you step into. your calm refusal to react to emotional blackmail, your quiet strength in the face of subtle pressure, and your unwavering boundaries force those around you to confront their own lack of authenticity. You become a mirror reflecting the unhealed parts of society. Your boundaries are never constructed out of bitterness, anger, or superiority, but out of a deep, reverent respect for the sacred divine life force breathing within your spirit. You embody the rare and powerful synthesis of the gentle dove and the wise serpent. You walk through this life with genuine kindness, compassion, and an open heart, yet you carry an undeniable, royal authority that demands respect without raising your voice. You forgive mistakes easily because you understand human weakness, yet you trust with deep surgical wisdom because you value spiritual alignment. You are capable of loving people deeply from a distance, yet you remain completely unanchored and immune to the chaotic lower frequency drama that keeps the rest of the world trapped in endless conflict. You were masterfully crafted for these specific times of global awakening. You were designed by the divine to stand calm and unyielding in the very center of the storm, seeing effortlessly through every illusion, grounded in the unshakable peace of your higher self. When others panic, you bring stability. When others lie to keep the peace, you speak the quiet truth that sets minds free. You are the living proof that a soul connected directly to the divine cannot be controlled by earthly systems or deceptive minds. Never apologize for your sharp discernment. Never tone down your light to make insecure people feel comfortable. And never compromise your sacred truth just to maintain artificial harmony. The world may call you distant, intimidating, or overly intense simply because they cannot find a way to manipulate your path or leverage your energy. Wear their misunderstanding as a badge of honor. It is the definitive proof that you have successfully broken free from the matrix of control and are walking in the full, uncontainable majesty of your divine calling. Stand tall in your sovereign power, hold your head high, and remember the sacred authority that walks alongside you in every single step of your journey. You are not a victim of this world's deceitful games. You are the master sent here to show what absolute spiritual freedom looks like. Keep shining your blinding light without hesitation or fear, because the darkness has no power, no leverage, and no strategy that can ever extinguish the divine spark living inside of you. Chosen ones, if this message resonated deep within your spirit, know that your path is seen, recognized, and fully supported by the higher realms. You are far stronger than you have ever realized, and the divine light you carry is far too brilliant for the illusions of this world to comprehend. To ground this sacred authority into your life today, type "I see through the illusion" in the comments below, declaring your commitment to walk in absolute truth, unshakable discernment, and divine freedom. Thank you for sharing your powerful presence with us today. If you feel called to continue awakening your inner power, seeing through the illusions of this world, and standing firmly in your sacred purpose, subscribe to Wisdom Path and join our global family of awakened souls. Until next time, keep walking in strength, hold your peace sacred, and remember that the light within you can never be overcome.